I want you to rewind to the household of this little girl, okay? She grows up in a house where her emotional needs are unmet. Her emotional needs are unmet, either because of neglect, abuse, or simply having completely emotionally unavailable parent or parents. Parents who did not know how to attune to her emotions. Or parents who had no idea what to do with their own emotions because they're carrying that rotten cheesecake from their own childhood. Okay? So she grows up with these emotional needs that are not met, but the emotional needs don't disappear because they were unmet. Because it's like a need like eating and drinking and breathing. And so she carries that need into her adult life. And now what does she do? Well, she's looking to fulfill that need still, because it's a hunger that was never filled. You understand? You're hungry, if you can't eat here, you're gonna eat here. You know what I'm saying? You need to fill that need. So what does she do? She grows up and she's looking still to fulfill that need. So she might become a people pleaser. She might look for approval from her social circle. She might be always on social media posting, look what I did, showing off, what we call showing off. And the purpose of the showing off is what? There is a need inside that wasn't fulfilled where it was supposed to be, and that was by the parent. The parent did not show the unconditional love and approval and emotional attunement that little girl needed. And so she's still looking for it. So she'll look for it in society. She'll look for it in her friends. She'll look for it online. She'll look for it in social, maybe if, in some cases, this is where daddy issues comes from, right? Where, we're talking maybe even outside of Islam. This is why, sometimes someone might be more promiscuous. This is actually what's at the root, is that they're looking for that love and closeness that they didn't get from the parent. All right? So what happens now, we're at this little girl, now she's grown up. She's looking for this approval and this love in social media and her friends and her, maybe by getting fancy purses and by driving fancy cars. Okay? Having a fancy house, having fancy clothing. But deep down, she is showing off, not because she's just born arrogant, but because she didn't have this need fulfilled in childhood. Everybody with me? Now she gets married. You're with me, yeah? On this journey of this little girl. She gets married. And now she's married, and in her marriage, she also doesn't have her emotional needs fulfilled. Why? Because she has a very roommate relationship with her husband. She has a very transactional relationship. They also don't have a healthy relationship. They are just living under the same roof. So her husband is also not fulfilling her emotional needs. Then she has a son. Y'all ready for this? And this is where all of those emotional needs that were unmet from childhood in her marriage is now all of it, the entire planet of it, put on this poor little human child. So what follows is a very unhealthy relationship between the mother and the child. This is not love. This is not love. This is unhealthy, insecure attachment. Whether you want to use spiritual language or psychological language, it is an unhealthy, insecure attachment to the child. But why did it happen? Because she didn't have those emotional needs met where it was supposed to be. In childhood by her parents, and then even in the marriage by her husband. So now this son has to play all those roles. He has to be the husband she don't have. Seriously. He has to be the father, the maternal, the parental, everything she didn't get. And now she puts that all on this son of hers. And this is where it becomes so unhealthy and so dysfunctional. She revolves her life around this child in a way that is so imbalanced and so unhealthy. But it's because there was a vacancy. There's something missing that was supposed to be fulfilled. And that's why that dynamic is so unhealthy. And then when he grows up and gets married, that is how we get the mother-in-law problem. It's very deep-rooted. She never had her emotional needs met. And the only place she put all of her hopes to have those emotional needs met is in her child. And it's usually her son. So now when he gets married, that's a threat to her. Psychologically, that's a threat to her. And it's a very deep threat because she now feels she's going to be abandoned. And she probably has an abandonment wound. So now she's going to be abandoned by her son. Why? Because now he's going to love someone else more than her. Or even the same as her. She has to be number one. And she has to always make him prove that she's number one. This is dysfunction. This is dysfunction. And it breaks families. And it causes illness. And it's just so unhealthy. But what is the root cause? The root cause is that these emotional needs were not fulfilled in a healthy way in childhood.